don't have a Math RTI in your Google Classroom is because we haven't given them to you yet. Landon Cowgill, make sure you check your emails from me, bud, sometime today. All right, let's get started. The first thing we have to do is review 3 things from last week. We learned a new prefix last week, and we learned 2 suffixes last week. So that's what we're going to review first before we learn our new vocab. So the prefix we learned, which remember the prefix pre means before. So prefix goes before word. The one we learned was mid, M-I-D. Can someone please raise your hand, the little raise your hand button, tell me what does mid mean? Does anyone remember what mid means? Corgan, tell me, what does it mean?
Middle?
Yes, in the middle. For example, mid-air, guess what? You're in the middle of the air. Middle or midland, you're in the middle of the country, etc. So mid means in the middle. That one's kind of self-explanatory, not too challenging, but then we learned 2 suffixes, and if you remember, the suffixes meant the same thing. Ugh, sorry, gotta erase. It was the suffix AL and the suffix IC. AL and IC. So some examples of those words were, let me get out my paper, were comedic, heroic, toxic, professional, biological, directional. Does anyone remember what those ones mean? Presley, what the AL and IC, remember they mean the same thing. Do you want to tell us what they mean?
Sorry, I had my hand raised for the one before that.
Okay. Dylan, is your hand raised for this one? No? Okay, so for example, the word professional. Professional with the AL means having to do with a certain profession. If you are heroic with the IC on the end, having to do or relating to a hero. So remember, AL and IC mean having to do with, relating to, or having the characteristics of, okay? So if you're heroic, you have the characteristics of a hero. So having to do with something, relating to something, okay? And those are just a quick review from last week. On your test this Friday, you will have 1 question that has to do with either AL, IC, or MID, okay? Not too crazy. But it is Monday, which means it's vocabulary day, Mrs. Kniffel's favorite. All right, so we do have a full read story this week. Last week we had that short read. This week we have a full story. So we have 8 vocabulary words. That's a lot of vocab words. Last week we only had like 4. So this week we have 8. I feel like they are not crazy, most of them. I feel like most of them we can probably use their schemas, use what we already know to try to figure out what they mean. So if you'd like to tell me what you think the word means, make sure you raise your hand in the little raise your hand chat button. Okay? The first one is knowledge. What does knowledge mean? Molly, what does knowledge mean?
Stuff you know.
That's a pretty good way to put it. If you have knowledge, you have information or understanding about something. So, if you know a lot about trains, you would have knowledge about trains, okay? Mrs. Kneifel has knowledge about dogs. I know quite a little bit about dogs. Mrs. Kneifel has knowledge about teaching. Mrs. Kneifel does not have knowledge about being a doctor. You know why? Because I'm not a doctor. So knowledge is the information or understanding that you have about something, okay? Cool. So you could say, for example, to go along with this picture, a sentence could be, our teacher gave us knowledge. We need to succeed. Okay? Like right now, you're learning knowledge. You're learning new vocab words, getting more things packed into your brain. Okay? All right. Next word. Dun, da, da, da. Posts. So posts have I can think of 2 definitions that go along with posts. There's one that goes specifically along with this picture. Then there's another type of posts. Bryden, your hand was up. Posts. Can you give me one of the definitions?
For posts, like, I'm trying to think. Like sometimes, I guess, I don't know. I had my hand raised for the last one.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
I can't think of one.
Jacqueline, you want to give it a try, Jacqueline?
We have I have 57 posts on Instagram.
Okay, so there's third types of posts. Okay, so a post on Instagram or a post on Facebook is where you take information, or a post on Google Classroom, it's where you take information and put it somewhere. That is one type of post. Correct. There's two other types of posts that Mrs. Kneifel can think of. The post on Instagram, post on Google Classroom, those do not go along with this picture. What's another type of post? Rainier.
A fence post.
Yeah, a fence post. Those are things that go in the ground, like a fence post or like a flag post, whatever. Those go in the ground. Then the final type of post has to do specifically with the Wild West, which is what we're learning about. Remember, Wild Wild West. So the other type of post that has to do with this specific picture is posts were forts or stopping places along trails where people could buy supplies. Okay, so that's what a post was. So imagine you live in the east and you're going to travel west. Okay, it is thousands of miles and you know, there's not big old Walmarts and stuff. So, you know, you might go a couple hundred miles and there's going to be this little store there where maybe you could buy sugar, or maybe you could buy some extra flour. Maybe you could buy some hay or something for your animals. So a post, it's just a little tiny stopping place along the trail people went as they moved west. Okay, so it's a super specific type of post. You could probably also drop your mail off there. They'd be able to get it back. So a post is just a stopping place along a trail. So we have post offices, but there's not posts like these anymore today because we got big old Walmarts and convenience stores. We have all those things. So back in the day, we needed those posts, those tiny little stopping places where you could get those extra supplies. So a sentence could be pioneers found posts along the major trails where they could buy supplies. Okay, so the post in our story is going to be a stopping place post. It's not going to be a fence post, and it's not going to be an Instagram post. Okay, it's going to be a stopping point post. Does anyone have any questions about that one? I know that one's a little bit different. It has all those different definitions, but if we do not have any questions about that one, we're going to move on to the third one. Dun, 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 dun. Number 3 is hardships. Yes, Mia, correct. Yeah, it'd also be a good spot to rest, probably. There's probably like a well there to get water. You can probably tie up your horses for a little bit while you go get your stuff you need. So it's also a resting spot. So yeah. What are hardships? Does anyone know what hardships are? Raise your hand in the raise your hand button. I don't even know what that button is called, but the button. Dylan Kelly. Oh, it's literally called raise hand. Okay, Dylan Kelly, what do you think, sir?
Challenges.
Challenges. That's a good way to put it. Anyone else have anything they want to say about hardships?
Maybe like in someone's relationship.
There could be hardships in a relationship. That's where a lot of hardships come about. There could be hardships in school.
So divorce.
Hardships at work. Jaden, do you want to add to it a little bit?
Maybe treated poorly.
That would be more like, that would go along with the racial relationships. Maybe you have hardships and even your relationships with like a friend or something if you're being treated poorly. So the actual definition of hardships is hardships are difficulties or suffering caused by not having enough of something. Okay. So Isaac said poor. So if you are maybe in poverty, maybe you don't have enough food. That would be a hardship. You'd be facing hunger as a hardship because you don't have enough food. If you don't have access to clean water, that would be a hardship. If you don't have access to education, that would be a hardship. You're having challenges or difficulties due to not having enough of something, okay? Challenges, difficulties, not having enough of something, okay? So a sentence could be, some people face hardships like not having enough water. And that would go along with this little picture. There's two girls carrying buckets, probably for water. Hardship, not having enough of something which causes a challenge or a difficulty, okay? 3 down, 5 to go. 3 down, 5 to go. Woo, woo. Gosh, you guys need to wake up. You guys are looking sleepy. Can't be sleepy. Mrs. Kneiffel's been up since like forever. All right, number 4 is patriotic. What does patriotic mean? This is an adjective. It's how you describe someone, or I guess something, I suppose, but it's how you could describe someone. Presley, your hand went up pretty quick.
Like dedicated to their country.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So people who act in a patriotic way towards a country show that they love their country, okay? So if you're patriotic, you really care about your country, you show that you really like your country, etc. So a sentence to go along with this picture could be, when people say the Pledge of Allegiance, it shows that they are being patriotic. So anytime you show you act in a positive or loving way towards your country, which we live in the United States, you could be considered as patriotic, okay? It's an adjective. It's how you describe someone. So you could say, she is very patriotic. She loves America, or something like that, okay? Or she's very patriotic when she sang the national anthem at the basketball game. Any of those, okay? I'm assuming most of us have probably heard the word patriotic before. That's a word that I'm assuming we've heard before. It's not a new
Here,
word.
I'll tell you where we've all heard it. It was the day before, like, that mob at the White House, and then you know how Donald Trump gave that speech and he kept saying patriotic and patriotically.
Oh, I did not watch the speech. I try to stay away from politics because Mrs. Kneifel doesn't really love them, but
Same.
patriotic. All right. Our next one is one that some of us, everyone knows what they are, but you might not know this term specifically, okay? This word is slogans. Does anyone know what a slogan is? And this is slogans with an S, so it's plural. But what is a slogan? Does anyone know? Someone I haven't talked to. I want someone new. Remember to raise your hand, chat. What's a slogan? Like, I'll give you some examples. Ba, 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 I'm loving it. Or Subway, eat fresh. Or
Let that chicken at Popeyes.
yeah, any of those. Isabella Hanlon, tell me what a slogan is.
Something people use to get people to want to get it.
Kind of, yeah. Normally it's used with products you can buy. Rochelle in the chat said an advertisement. So slogans are short phrases that are catchy and easy to remember. That's all. So lots of products and stores, restaurants, they have those catchy little slogans like, I'm loving it, McDonald's. And then it's catchy, and then you remember it, it gets stuck in your brain. Then you're like, oh, snap, I really want some McDonald's, okay? So slogans, they're catchy, they're easy to say. Like, yeah, take a break, have a Kit Kat, you know. I can't think of anything right now. But anyways, slogans. A sentence with the slogan could be, we saw several billboards with eye-catching slogans advertising products. Okay, so slogans don't have to just be restaurants. They could also be products like markers or cars or things like that. I don't know. Okay, probably not markers, but I can't think of any slogans right now. But anyways, a slogan is something catchy and easy to remember. Dylan?
One slogan is for Kit Kat is, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
Yeah. Normally we hear slogans in commercials on the radio or on TV. And then slogans are also on billboards or advertisements, things like that. Not that you guys should have a Facebook, but if you have Facebooks, you might see slogans on any type of advertisement on Facebook, things like that. Yeah. So
Elections, like presidents, will, like, people running for president or governor, or just people running for, like, government, then they will most likely have a slogan.
Yes, people running for political parties also have slogans, like Donald Trump's when he ran for the first his first round of presidency was "Make America Great Again." And I'm not saying I enjoy Donald Trump or anything. I'm just telling you that was his slogan. I cannot think of Hillary Clinton's. Totally besides the point. That was a long time ago. So, anyways, all different types of slogans out there. Okay. Okay. Next one. Dun, 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 dun. Number 5. Number 6. Number 5. The next one is handy. What does handy mean? If something's handy, what does that mean? Raise your hand in the raise your hand chat. Handy. Olivia, handy.
Handy is kind of like when you build something and you have someone help you. They come.
You're kinda on the right track. James, put your dinosaur down. I'm thinking of like an adjective, like to describe me, and I'm describing. Oh, Maya just said it in the chat. She said useful. Handy is an adjective. A person can be handy. A thing could be handy. So handy, it means you're very useful. So at school, guess what? My computer and my Chromebook are very handy because I use them all day. They're very useful. If Mrs. Kneifel was building a deck, guess what? A hammer would probably be useful. At school, a hammer is not useful because I have nothing to hammer. So handy is useful. People can also be handy, like, you know, my husband's handy with, you know, like fixing things. I'm not. He's very useful when it comes to fixing things. I am not. So handy. A sentence could be, a lasso is a very handy item for a rancher. A rancher is like someone that takes care of horses and cows and stuff. So handy. It's a useful tool. Okay?
Here, I have a theory on this word, where it came from, why they use handy. Because it's kind of like a third hand, because if it's super useful, I think it might be like a third hand, another hand you have to help do work or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I'm just passing it along. All right, our next one is dun 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 typical. And this is another adjective, another descriptive word. Like you could describe someone as typical, or you could describe your day as typical, or you could describe the homework as typical. What does typical mean? Eden, would you like to tell me what typical means? Eden.
It's something that everybody does.
Something that everyone does. That could be it. Paisley, do you want to add to that?
Easy.
No. Typical does not have to be easy. I disagree. I had a lot of people type stuff in the chat. Let me look what we said. People said usual, normal, average. I would agree with those. So typical means usual or normal. If you're having a typical day, guess what? Same old day. Normal, average, nothing exciting. Like today, you're going to have your typical vocabulary homework. Same vocabulary homework you always have. If I gave you vocabulary homework that was crazy different, that wouldn't be typical. That would be different. So typical, usual, and normal. So a sentence to go along with this picture would be, my mom dropped me off at school at the typical time. That means normal time, the usual time. Today, we started our live at the usual time or typical time, right? 9:40, that's what time we started. So same old same, okay? Typical, average, normal, usual, etc. Those would be all types of synonyms. Synonyms. All right, we have one more vocabulary word of the day. Dun, 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 dun. There's a picture of a salad on it, just for fun. But the word is consisted. What does consisted mean? Presley, your hand went up pretty fast. Consisted.
Like ingredients or what is used to make something?
It doesn't have to be the word ingredients. How about items? Let's change Presley's ingredients to items. So if something consisted of items, it was made up of those things. So for example, here's a salad. The salad consisted of lettuce, carrots, broccoli, celery, tomatoes, and olives. That's what it is made up of. It consisted of. So today, reading consists of vocabulary and reading a story. Okay? That is what it's made up of. Your whole day consists of reading, math, science, right? That's what your day consists of. So consists of is what it is made up of. It can be physical things like a salad, tomatoes, celery, things like that. Or it could be, you know, like your nighttime routine. What does your nighttime routine consist of? Mine consists of, you know, brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, putting on my pajamas, tucking the dogs in, etc. So consisted. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we're going to go over these words one more time. All right, and you will have vocabulary homework. It's not posted yet, so don't go try to do it because it's not posted yet. All right, so we have knowledge. If you have knowledge, you have information or understanding about something. Number 2, posts. Remember, we talked about an Instagram post. We talked about fence posts, but the posts in our story are going to be post reports or stopping places along the trail where people could buy supplies. 3, hardships. Hardships are difficulties or suffering caused by not having enough. Patriotic. If people who act in a patriotic way towards a country show that they love the country. Slogans. Slogans are short phrases that are catchy and easy to remember. Mrs. Knifel's going to come up with a freaking slogan for herself. Handy. Something that is handy is very useful. Typical. Something that is typical is usual or normal. Same old same. And lastly, consisted. If something consisted of certain items, it was made of those things. All right. We are officially done with our vocabulary word for today. I need you guys to go to HMH. You were given a story. It should be underneath assignments. It is called my book, Prepare to Read, Explore the Wild West. Please try to hop on it. If for some reason it's not working, I am going to share my screen, but try to get on it yourself too. I'll give you guys about a minute to see if you can hop on it too, but I am going to share my screen as well. So like I said, it's under HMH and it's called My Book, Prepare to Read. I'm sorry, computer's slow. That's why I shared it too. So you can always just pin me and follow along with me. It's not a big deal if you can't get on it. Not a big deal. I feel like we haven't seen a Prepare to Read page in forever. This has been since Christmas. So it's been forever. But anyways, the Prepare to Read page, remember, just gives us a little insight about what we're reading. Okay? Love a Prepare to Read page. So explore the Wild West. And these Prepare to Read pages, they really hook us up because they tell us what we're going to be reading. The genre we're going to be reading is informational text. Informational text gives facts and examples about a topic, event, or time period. So in my chat right now, is informational text going to be nonfiction or fiction? What's it going to be? Isaac, you only need to type it once, bud. All right. I'm seeing lots of correct answers. It is non-fiction text because they are giving us real facts and examples about topics, events, or time periods. Obviously, it's called Explore the Wild West, so the topic is going to be the Wild West. The time period is going to be in the West in the 1800s, and we'll see if there's any specific events it's talking about. But we already know the topic based off the title, Wild West. Time period, that's during the 1800s. Remember, what was it, like 1803 is when Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Purchase, and that's when people started heading west. The gold rush started in 1848. So, 1800s time period. Also, if you have not finished, sorry, this is a total sidebar. If you have not finished your e-learning quiz from Friday, you need to make sure to get that done. There's still probably about 20 of you that haven't done it yet. Make sure you get that done. Also, some of you guys deserve a big fat high five because you did super great on your quiz. Some of you guys did very poorly on your quiz, which makes me so sad because every single answer was in the story. So if you did not do good on your quiz, you need to try harder. If you haven't taken the quiz, make sure you get that done. If you did good on the quiz, good job. Sidebar over. All right. So let's read our little bullet points about more about informational text. Informational text contains a central or main idea. Ideas supported by details, including facts and quotations. The ideas might be organized under heading or by cause and effect. So we, of course, know there's always a central idea or a main idea in the in stories, not just informational text, but all text. There's going to be something that it's about. What is the overall message? Mark, remind me, or you can ask me at the end. And then, of course, there's going to be details to support the main idea. We will see how this story is categorized. Is it going to be sequential? This? Is it going to be underneath headings and subheadings? Is it going to be cause and effects? This caused this. So that is the text structure. And we're going to be talking about text structures throughout the story this week. And then words specific to the topic or subject area may be included. And remember, those are content area specific words. We talk about this all the time. Obviously, we're reading about the Wild West. So these are going to be content specific to social studies, the past, history. They're not going to be scientific words because this story has nothing to do with science. It is content specific to social studies. So there may be some social studies words. Next. Informational text may also include visuals and text features such as sidebars with enhance and support the main text. So remember, a sidebar is when it's off to the side and it gives us more information about a topic but isn't necessarily going along with the story. And obviously there's going to be some visuals in it. There might be pictures, there might be graphs, there might be, we already see a nice little illustration right here. All right, so dun 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 dun. We already know, once again, informational text, which means nonfiction. The topic is the Wild West. The time period is during the 1800s because we already know from last week, the Wild West started around 1803 when people started moving west because Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Purchase, okay? So that's how we know the time period because we already learned that last week, and now we have it for this week, okay? So we are going to start reading our story this week because start reading our story today, which I know we don't normally do on a Monday, but it's a little bit long story. And so we're just going to hop right to it. Okay. Da-da-da. So Explore the Wild West by Anita Yasanda, illustrated by Emmanuel Kressler. All right. So you can see just by this picture, there's some mountains, there's cactuses, and there's a big, long, covered wagon train. You can see them. There's these people and them, and then them, and then them, and it goes back and back and back. You can see the rough ground. The rough ground. There's no road. There's no beautiful grass. It's rocky. It's sandy. Probably not that great for horses' feet for forever, and also not great for your wooden wagon wheels. Okay? Some of you guys had good answers on your test. For whatever number it was about the dangers of moving west. Some of you guys really had some good answers, but we're going to continue on. Dun, da, da, da. Mrs. Kneifel is full of sidebars today. All right, so where was the Wild West? Great question. Let's find out specifically where it was. The Wild West was more than just a place. It was more than the western lands beyond the Mississippi River. It was a time of pioneers, cowboys, and Native Americans. It was the time of cowgirls and pioneer women, stagecoaches, saloons, outlaws and lawmen, buffalo hunting, and bank robbers. Robbers. I don't know how to say that word. All right, so I like that paragraph. I think that paragraph is a good intro. It's saying, where was the Wild West? And that paragraph is telling us the Wild West was not just a place. The Wild West, like the term Wild West, means way more. It's talking about the people. It's talking about the things that were there. It's talking about, the women, the men, the, sheriffs, the outlaws, people that were doing bad things, people that were doing the right things. So the Wild West wasn't just a place. It was a whole big time period that means a bunch of different things, okay? What we think of as a time of Wild West started in the early 1800s, which guess what? We knew and we already talked about. High five yourself. Woo! By the mid-1800s, when the gold was discovered in California, everyone was talking about the Wild West. This period of time lasted until the frontier was closed in 1890. So, remember, the Louisiana Purchase was in 1803. So that means for 87 years, you were able to move west and get free or cheap land. But then in 1890, the frontier was closed, and that's when the free land, the cheap land, things were cut off and stuff. So for 87 years, people moved west to claim their free land, to try to get their gold, etc. So that's a long time, 87 years for things to just be, that's a long time period. The Wild West was for 87 years. And this is a map. And look, there's a map key. Oh my goodness, which may come in handy later. So I'm starting at the bottom with the green. This is the Great Plains. Okay. And here's Indiana. This is where we live, like right here where my little mouse is. The Great Plains are right here. The Santa Fe Trail. Some people took the Santa Fe Trail. We'll learn about that. The California Trail is the purple one, which took people dead to the middle of California. Those are people probably on the way to get gold. And then the Oregon Trail traveled all the way up here. And Independence, Missouri, you can see is right here. And this was probably a really well built up town where a lot of people left from, okay? And here's the Mississippi River. So the West is considered from the Mississippi River over. The original American frontier was the Mississippi River, but the frontier pushed west towards the Pacific Ocean as tens of thousands of people moved westward. Stories of plenty of good farmland for everyone made the West sound amazing. Many pioneers went to Oregon and other places because the land was free. When gold was discovered, more and more people moved there, hoping to strike it rich. This is things we also already knew from our schema, from what we've learned in social studies, from what we learned in the past, and from the story last week. We know people moved west because the land was free or the land was cheap. People were saying, oh my gosh, such good farming. So people are like, oh snap, let's go farm, woohoo. And then we also knew people, of course, moved west to get gold. We already know that. So look, factual information that we already knew because we're so smart. Next page. How America grew. So, FYI, here's a subtitle on the first page. And now, here's another subtitle on the next page. How America grew. Paragraph 4. How did America get new land for people to explore and settle? Can someone please tell me this? I've already said it once today, and it's what we learned last week. Someone remind me. Raise your hand if you want to answer this. How did we get new land to explore and settle? Did we just show up upon it one day? How did we get new land?
The Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah, the Louisiana Purchase. It says, in 1803, the United States doubled its size with a single purchase of land, the Louisiana Purchase. The leader of France, Napoleon Bonaparte, sold the Louisiana Territory to President Thomas Jefferson. This area included parts or all of present-day states of Louisiana, Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, Iowa, Minnesota, Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Oh my goodness. So that one purchase gave us all those states, which is so silly sometimes, I think. It's called the Louisiana Purchase. But look at all the different states besides Louisiana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It gave us 14 other states besides Louisiana, but it's titled the Louisiana Purchase. And remember, it happened in 1803, which was the start of Pioneer. How much was the Louisiana Purchase? I don't know. Maybe we'll find that out. If not, we could always look it up. Now that America reached far to the west, President Jefferson needed a map of the area. He sent 2 men named Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to do the job. He hoped they would discover a water route across the continent. Lewis and Clark and their 50-person team explored the West from 1804 to 1806, becoming the first new Americans to see the Pacific Ocean. So the president was like, yeah, I don't have time to be exploring this new land. I need someone else to do it. So we've all heard of Lewis and Clark before, I'm sure. I'm sure we have all heard of Lewis and Clark, but they were part of Thomas Jefferson's team, and he was like, all right, go check it out. Tell me what it's about. And they went with 50 other people. A French-Canadian trapper and his Native American wife, Sacagawea, translated for Lewis and Clark. This allowed them to speak to the Native Americans they met along the way. When Native American people saw Sacagawea, they believed the group was peaceful. So remember, you have to think all these, they're exploring and they're coming across these Native American tribes. Obviously, Native American tribes seeing all these group of men, which I'm sure they had different types of weapons and stuff. And their skin color was different because, they're from Great Britain and stuff. It probably looked like a little bit scary, like, oh my gosh, who are these people? But when the Native Americans saw Sacagawea, they knew that there was peace. Sacagawea could help them communicate because Native Americans definitely spoke their own language. They weren't speaking what the English settlers were. So here's a little sidebar. I love a little sidebar. It says then and now. Then the American government paid France $15 million for the Louisiana Territory. That's a whole lot of money. But now, today, this land deal would cost billions of dollars, okay? Billions. So $15 million back then was, oh my gosh, an insane amount of money. But billions and billions it would cost today. It would literally probably be impossible to buy that much land in today's world, because it's just so much. All right, we are going to stop reading our story here today. Tomorrow, don't leave though, because I got to go over your homework and I'm going to go over what we're doing tomorrow. Tomorrow, when you hop on reading, I want you to go straight to the story because I want to finish the entire story tomorrow. We still have a lot to read. So tomorrow, as soon as you get on here, or when you get on reading class, make sure you get on HMH and are ready. We're just on the second page. So that is what you are going to do when you hop on here tomorrow. Next, I'm going to share the tab and talk about your reading homework. Same as always. Remember, it's a typical assignment. So you only have to choose 3 of the 8 words. Mrs. Knife was feeling nice. I'm going to make you do 4, but only have to do 3 of the 8 words. You must write 3 sentences. You cannot put 2 of the vocabulary words in 1 sentence. Make sure you use capital letter punctuation. Make sure your word makes sense. Make sure you spell your word correctly. Here are the words. It's worth a total of 4 points or 12 points, 4 points per sentence. This homework is due before class tomorrow. So by 9:39 a.m., it has to be done tomorrow. I'm posting it now. What questions do we have? Like I said, tomorrow I want you on HMH when you get on the live, and this homework is due before class tomorrow. What questions do we currently have?
Well, I just want to say that $15 million, it was 4 cents an acre. So can you imagine how many acres that is?
Yeah, that's really cheap. I mean, today in LaPorte County, an acre of land can be a couple $1,000s, depending on where it's at. So 4 cents an acre, man, I would love to have lived to get 4 cents an acre.
I'm not trying to say that, but can you imagine how many acres it would take for 4 cents to add up to 15 million?
Right, remember, but it's 14 states. It's absolutely huge. So
I know.
it's crazy to think that the United States was able to buy that much land in one purchase. Like, it literally doubled the size of the United States, which is cool to think of, but still crazy. Any other questions do we have about homework, about what we talked about today, about our plan for tomorrow? Questions? Make sure you, Mark, what was your question about the quiz? Make sure if you haven't done your quiz from Friday, make sure you get it done.
Oh, I got it done. Either way, but there's that one that said, here, let me just find the question and make it even simpler.
Mia, an acre is how people measure land. Like, I don't really know what consists. Like, we'll see. Let's see how big an acre is.
There's 64 of them in a mile, so and then there's like 1,600 feet in a mile, so it's probably like 20. Wait, no, it's like 20 meters. It's like a 20 meter probably.
So an
More like
acre
40.
is 43,000 square feet, and it is literally just how people measure land. Like, if I was to build a home, I might buy an acre of land. It's just how it's made is all. Like, my parents have 2 acres, and that's what their home is on. I don't have a full acre because I live on a city lot, so I don't have a full acre. But it's just how many square feet you live on a piece of land is. It's just like a universal measuring tool and set up some that way all across the United States. An acre is the same thing. So an acre in Indiana is going to be the same acre as in North Dakota. Is all. In case you're wondering. But if you don't have a question, you guys are free to leave me. You can work on your homework. Obviously, you guys have math really soon. If you are one of those people that needs to do, Ava, you need to do your language arts NWEA. Other people, if you need to finish language arts or math NWA, you've got to do it.
Okay, well, the question was it was question probably 4, I think. 5. It's question 5. It was people moving west are often moved with a large group. The groups of people moving were often called what? And then the answer was covered wagon trains. Yes.
That was in our book underneath the picture.
The groups of people moving were called what?
Yeah, in the groups, people moved and covered wagon trains.
It doesn't say what they moved in. It says what are they called? The people. What are they called? That's why I got confused.
But what did you put?
I put Western movers because that's like the only one I could actually think, because I don't think you would put train. You wouldn't call someone a train.
But people moved in the train. Like, Western movers was nowhere in our story. The only one of those that was in our story was the covered wagon trains. I was referring to like the groups of people. They moved in a group, and it was called like the train of people moving. I guess I could see how you're getting confused. I can give you that point back since you are asking about it. But we didn't talk about Western movers or covered wagon settlers. So we're talking about the group as a whole. Okay. But I can.
Yeah, I just got confused there, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? I was like, did I miss something? And that's
I can change that for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Any other questions? Anyone? Going once, going twice? If not, you're free to leave me. So long, farewell.